Good morning, everyone. At Rna Diagnostics, the problem that we're addressing is that when oncologists are treating their patients, unfortunately, typically about 70% of patients do not actually receive any survival benefit from the chemotherapy or targeted drugs that they're receiving. And that also means that typically greater than $60 billion each year are wasted on drugs that are actually poisoning the patient rather than helping them. At Rna Diagnostics, we've developed a technology which can address this opportunity to improve cancer care, save lives, and save costs. That technology is called the Rna Disruption Assay, or RDA. And basically, RDA will provide early information to oncologists as to which patients are responding to treatments and which patients are not. And this will enable something called response-guided therapy, in which an oncologist can change the medication early on if the drug's not working and move the patient onto the next drug in the standard of care, which might provide a better response for that patient and also save the health system a lot of money. So how does RDA work? Well, RDA is based on a set of biomarkers that were discovered by our Chief Scientific Officer, Dr. Amedeo Perecenti. And these biomarkers are very interesting in that they're a universal death marker for tumor cells. It doesn't matter what the treatment is. We've tested 6 different chemotherapeutic classes. We've tested targeted drugs, radiation treatment. It doesn't matter what the treatment is. If the tumor cells are being killed, our biomarkers are turned on. And if the tumor cells are not being killed, our biomarkers are not turned on. In addition, it doesn't matter where the tumor is from. The origin of the tumor is independent. Our biomarkers operate in all of them. And in fact, we have also tested our biomarkers in canine lymphoma and seen that we get good predictive benefits there as well. So this is a very universal marker of tumor response to treatment. So how would this be used in the care pathway? Well, basically, our first market is primary breast cancer, stage 1, 2, or 3 breast cancer. And our test is used in the neoadjuvant setting, meaning that the patient is receiving drugs first and surgery second. And what would happen is that when the patient starts their treatment, about a month after the initiation of treatment, she would go to the doctor's office and have a biopsy taken from the tumor, and that would be sent to our lab. We would run our assay and use our proprietary algorithm to create a patient report that within 2 to 3 days would be sent back to the doctor. And because this is being sold as a laboratory service rather than a kit, this falls under the laboratory developed test or CLIA model, and we don't actually have to get FDA approval to commercialize this test. The information that we'll be providing to doctors will be very actionable and easy to understand. If the patient's result is in zone 1, that means that the patient is not responding well to that treatment, and the oncologist should consider an alternate treatment. If the patient's response is zone 3, then the patient's tumor is responding well, and you can carry on with confidence. And if the patient's result is in zone 2, it's a partial response. You probably continue with that treatment, but you might consider running the test again after the next cycle. So in breast cancer, our first market, how would this work? Basically, our test can eliminate, in cases where the patient's tumor isn't responding, can eliminate 5 out of 8 cycles of chemotherapy. And we've done healthcare economic analysis and shown that we can save an average of $21,000 per patient, including the cost of the test, using this approach. So the market for our RDA technology is $8 billion across all of the markets that we can serve. Our first market, as I indicated, is primary breast cancer, which is a $1.2 billion market opportunity. That's based on an assumption of $2,000 per test, Comparable tests today are receiving about $3,600, and so we think that this is a very conservative market assessment. Our technology has some very significant advantages over any other approaches. First of all, there's nothing on the market right now that actually addresses this problem. The issue is that imaging greatly overestimates efficacy. Many tumors shrink, but that doesn't necessarily mean that the patient is actually receiving a survival benefit. Other technologies that are in development either provide information too late or are not accurate enough to be actionable. So what's required to commercialize a technology like this successfully? Well, it requires a high degree of evidence. And so this is critical for both adoption and reimbursement. And so we are currently working on a pivotal clinical trial, which is being run in the 6 countries that you see here. And basically, this trial, phase 1 of this trial will be complete by the end of this year, and phase 2 of the trial will be complete by the end of next year. So we'll be launching the product for clinical trial use early next year, and we'll be launching the product for patient management use early in 2022. In addition, breast cancer is just the first market that we'll be addressing. We're conducting pilot studies in colorectal cancer as the next market, and we'll also be looking at immunotherapy response measurement and melanoma as other markets that we can address with the technology. So this is a platform technology that can be used to address many problems in cancer care. Our commercialization plan shows revenue beginning in 2021 and first meaningful revenue in 2022 when our test will be used to help manage breast cancer patients. And as I mentioned, this is based on an assumption of $2,000 a test, which is quite a conservative assumption. We have a very strong management team. I personally have over 20 years in the diagnostics industry, most recently working for a company called Luminex Corporation in Austin, Texas, where I was the head of their R&D for 8 years. We're currently raising a $10 million Series B round, 10 to 12 million, and the use of proceeds as you see here. We've raised a total of $15 million to date, most recently in a Series A round that was $9 million Canadian, led by IgAN Partners of Toronto. So once again, just to summarize, we have a technology that will dramatically improve the way cancer therapy is delivered to patients. It's patented, it's an $8 billion market opportunity, low regulatory risk, and a very experienced management team. And if you'd like to talk to me, I'd be happy to speak to you in the breakout room. Thank you very much.